Once upon a time, in a quiet little town, there lived a man named Haria, with his loving wife, and 2 young kids. Haria was a hardworking fella, always trying out different businesses to make ends meet for his family. But it seemed like nothing ever panned out for him. The darn reason was that whatever business Haria started, his clever neighbor, Madav, would copy him, and somehow always managed to snag more customers. If Haria started selling veggies, Madav would set up shop right next door, selling them for cheaper. If Haria opened a little tea stall, Madav would open one right beside it, making sure his tea tasted way better. Haria's spirits kept getting lower and lower. One gloomy afternoon, Haria sat outside his small house, looking all worried. His sweet wife, Saida, sat down next to him, asking gently, "What's eating at you, honey? What else could it be?" Haria sighed, his voice heavy with frustration. "Whatever I start, Madav copies it and takes all my customers. I just don't know what to do anymore." Saita thought for a bit, a little light bulb going off in her head. "Why don't you try growing pumpkins?" she suggested. "They're easy to grow, and nobody else in the market sells them." Feeling a glimmer of hope, thanks to his wife's idea, Haria decided to give it a shot. The next day, he went and bought a whole cartload of fresh, sweet pumpkins and proudly set up a small stand in the marketplace. "Come on down and get your sweet pumpkins," he called out, his voice filled with a hopeful tone. "You won't find better pumpkins anywhere around." At first, folks gathered around Haria's stall. His pumpkins were big, fresh, and customers were really impressed. It looked like Haria's luck was finally changing. He made some good money that day, heading home in the evening with a big smile on his face. But Haria's happiness didn't last long. The very next morning, when Haria got to the market, his heart sank. There was Madav sitting right next to him, also selling pumpkins. And not just any pumpkins. Madav was shouting, "Get your sweet pumpkins for just 20 rupees apiece." Slowly, but surely, Haria's customers started moseying over to Madav's stall, drawn by the lower price. Haria's face fell as he watched his business just collapse right in front of him. That night, Haria sat at home, stewing in frustration. "Why does he always have to copy me?" he said angrily, his voice full of despair. Saida sat down beside him, offering a comforting touch. "Don't you worry your head. Why don't you try selling fish instead? Not everyone knows how to handle fish. Maybe this time it'll work out." Haria sighed, his voice weary, but still holding on to a tiny bit of hope. "All right," he agreed. "I'll give it one more try." The next day, Haria went to the river, bought some fresh hilsa fish, and set up his stall in the market. "Fresh hilsa fish. Only 500 rupees a kilo," he yelled, his voice carrying a renewed sense of purpose. People gathered around his stall. "Fresh fish at a good price," someone exclaimed. Just when Haria thought things were finally looking up, guess who showed up again? Madav. The very next day, Madav started selling hilsa fish too, but for a measly 450 rupees a kilo. Fresh hilsa fish. Only 450 rupees a kilo. Madav hollered, his voice dripping with smugness. Once again, Haria's customers left him in the dust and went over to Haria's face turned beet red with frustration, his fists clenching tight. That night, Haria threw his towel down in anger. "I've had it," he fumed. "No matter what I do, Madav ruins it." Saita smiled knowingly, a little twinkle in her eye. "Don't you fret. I've got a plan. And this time, he won't be able to copy you." Curiosity piqued. Haria leaned in, his eyes wide with anticipation. "What is it?" Saida whispered her idea into his ear. Haria's eyes widened even more, a slow smile spreading across his face. That just might work." The next morning, Haria hired some construction workers, and built a big, strong platform way up high above his house. Once the platform was ready, he brought in a bunch of goats and started raising them up there. A few days later, Madav's wife noticed that Haria wasn't selling anything in the market anymore. Her curiosity getting the better of her, she went over to Haria's house and asked Sita, all nosy like, "Hey Sita, How come Haria hasn't been coming to the market lately? Sita smiled sweetly and replied, "Oh, we've started a new business." "A new business?" Madav's wife frowned. Her interest piqued. "Yep," Sita said casually. "We built a platform above our house and started raising fish up there. Those fish are growing like crazy. Soon we'll sell them and make a whole lot of money." Madav's wife's eyes popped open in surprise and a little bit of envy. She hurried home and spilled the beans to her husband. "If Haria can do it, why can't I?" Madav declared proudly, his competitive spirit all fired up. The very next day, Madav built an even bigger platform above his own house and bought even more fish than Haria. "I'll sell my fish before Haria does and make even more dough." Madav grinned, feeling all smug. But then, the monsoon hit. Heavy rain poured down for days on end. The weight of the platform, now soaked with water, started to weaken the whole thing. One night, there was a loud crack that echoed through the neighborhood. Madav woke up to find his platform collapsing. The fish went tumbling through the roof, and water started flooding his house. Madav and his wife just stood there, helpless, as their house filled up with water and debris. Their dreams of getting rich quick, going down the drain. The next day, a miserable-looking Madav saw Haria standing at his door, a knowing smile on his face. "Copying someone isn't as easy as it looks, is it?" Haria said, his voice holding a bit of satisfaction. "Now you're facing the music for your own actions. You shouldn't be so darn jealous of others." "And all this," Haria gestured towards his own house, "was my wife's idea all along. Now do you get the whole picture?" Haria then let him in on his clever plan, explaining that he'd actually been raising goats on that platform and had already sold them for a cool 90,000 rupees. "So you were going to all that trouble to raise fish way up there without even realizing it?" Haria chuckled softly. That evening, Haria indeed sold his goats for 90,000 rupees. Heading back home with his pockets jingling and a triumphant look in his eyes, Sita smiled, her heart full of relief and pride. "Finally, things worked out," she said. Haria nodded, his voice filled with newfound wisdom. "Yep, because this time I didn't copy anyone, and nobody could copy me." From that day forward, Madav learned a valuable lesson. True success comes from being original and working hard, not from just copying other folks. As for Haria, his business kept growing because he finally figured out that the secret to lasting success is thinking smart, not just working your tail off. Success doesn't come from copying others, but from being original, putting in the hard work, and using your smarts. Haria had faced one setback after another because Madav kept ripping off his business ideas. But when Haria used his creativity and thought things through strategically, he finally hit the jackpot. The story teaches us that blindly copying others might bring you a little bit of luck for a while. But real and lasting success comes from knowing what you're good at, doing your own homework, and finding your own unique solutions. Hard work, mixed with some good old-fashioned smart thinking, is the key to staying ahead of the game.